You know, like this cultural appropriation thing. You know what that is? That's where, like, if you do something another race did first, it's considered racist as opposed to you just liking that shit. That's confusing. Like, we're here in Phoenix, it's hot. If I'm wearing a giant sombrero, why is that racist as opposed to me just acknowledging this is the best hat humanity has ever come up with for a hot day? What am I supposed to be like? Oh, it's hot, but I'm a Jew, so I gotta put on this tiny yarmulke and just get burned to shit, because even though we're a desert people, we never thought of a brim. I don't know how that's possible. 40 years in the desert. 40 years. 40 years in the desert. No Jew was ever like, why don't we just make the hat wider? You know what I mean? Just, why don't we just, if we make it wider, it'll cover more of our head, not just the bald spot. Why don't we just make it wider? And they're like, no, Herschel, that's gonna be racist in 2,300 years. Canceled. I'm very excited to be filming my third comedy special. This is my third special, and I'm very excited for that. Yeah, man. I didn't think I was gonna get to do it either. A few years ago, I had to get vocal cord surgery. They were operating my entire career. One slip of the knife, $9,000 a year, gone, like that. You know how scary it is to know that you might never be able to perform in Phoenix in the dead of summer again? Do you have any idea? Yeah, I'm wearing a jacket. This was a bad move. Thank you, sir. Thank you. This was a bad move. Yeah, I don't think polyester in Phoenix heat was the move. Thank you for pointing it out already, fucking white male Karen. Thank you very much. Jesus Christ. But, dude, vocal cord surgery was crazy. I hope you never have to get it. I had to be silent for a month, and the doctor was like, don't talk, don't sing, don't even masturbate. And I was like, well, why not? He goes, well, you might get carried away and say something. I was like, Doc, I think you and I are jerking off at different levels. Has anyone ever gotten that into it where they're just like, I'm gonna live forever? Because that's not me. I'm silent, full of shame, staring into the mirror while listening to Tupac. But I spent a lot of time out here during COVID because for a while, as a comedian, we could only perform in certain states, like the Arizona, the Florida, the kind of anti-science communities, and turns out they're way more fun. Turns out if you don't believe in science, you don't get offended by jokes. Right? Like, there are no woke anti-science people. They're like, the world is flat, and my pronouns are him, her, big truck. Like, there's no doubt conservatives are more fun for a crowd. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of liberal, but liberals are like, we just wake up mad. Liberals just wake up like, fucking something's offensive. I don't know, Chappelle. Liberals are like the angriest people who have never been in a fight. You know, it's just weird. Unless it's on Facebook. But, so it's weird, like where I live in LA, it's hard to get away with anything comedy-wise now. You make fun of an Italian and someone's like, oh, I used to go to the Olive Garden. I think I'm triggered. I used to play Super Mario Brothers. I need to write a blog. Meanwhile, you can go to Texas and beat a penguin to death. They're like, fuck yeah, I like that guy. And dude, when Trump was president, and I know we're coming up on that sweet sequel, but the first time, which is either the best thing or the worst thing that's ever happened. But when Trump was president the first time, it got so divided in this country that comedians, we had to have like 2 different acts. Like 1 week you'd be in San Francisco, Trump is the worst. Then you'd go to Indiana, we fucking did it! And you just start high-fiving people's guns. You'd sing a Jason Aldean song and the whole crowd would come in the shape of an eagle. And that's the story of Hanukkah. People love guns out here, man. Seems like in America, though, the people who love guns the most always have a weird reason for why they love them. They're like, I need this gun to protect my land from the government. And then you see their land and you're like, you're good. Like no one's trying to bust into your trailer and steal your velvet Jesus painting, dude. You're fine. Like, dude, anytime you see a guy who says he's got to protect his land from the government, when you see his land, feels like raccoons are the real enemy there, you know? Like, squirrels are your ISIS, dude. But it is good to be here, dude. It's good to be here. I didn't do much today. Went to Walgreens. Where are my Walgreens people at? Yeah, always an adventure, always an adventure. I saw a woman today in this Walgreens hit her kid harder than I have ever seen that happen. It was so effective. That kid got way quieter. Isn't it weird when you see someone hit their kid in the store and you're like, ugh. Well, it's more pleasant now, I'll say that. Like, I'm not saying you should have did it, but I am glad you did it while I was here. And I locked eyes with her. I was gonna say something. The kid was behind her like, don't get involved. This bitch is crazy. Where are my parents at? We got any parents out here in Phoenix? We got any Phoenix parents? I have a kid now. My wife got pregnant last year, and oddly enough, we kept it. I didn't see that coming, but not very popular choice in Los Angeles, but you know, we did it. So we have a baby now, and I looked at my tour schedule. Seems like it's mine. This is our first kid, man. I'm pretty excited. I became a dad at 40, which is awesome, because now if anyone ever has a gun to my head, I could be like, don't shoot! I have a kid! Because before I'd have to be like, don't shoot! I start thinking about my life. I'm like, oh, he should shoot, actually. Give me the gun. I'm gonna shoot right now. I'm gonna shoot myself. But it's a lot of pressure having a kid, dude. Like, we had this hippie doctor out there, and he made the whole thing too complex. He's like, you know, you guys can have a home birth. You can just have the baby at home. One fucking hippie excited about that idea. Yeah, you think so? I don't know. Me and my wife, we don't even cook at home. I was like, can it be delivered by DoorDash? That's really where we're at right now. So we get the baby home, and my wife immediately has a panic attack. She's like, oh my God, what if I can't breastfeed this baby? What if it doesn't like my nipples? And I was like, well, it wouldn't hurt to pluck the hair off that left one, you know? For the baby, I love that hair. That's how I fell in love with my wife, that barbed wire like eagle claw talon. You pluck it, bing, it's right back. But I said, for the baby, why don't we pluck that hair and wax your asshole 3 or 4 times? For the baby. So we're breastfeeding the baby. She shits 500 times a day. I don't know if breast milk is made of Indian food. I'm not really sure how it works, but babies are weird because they shit all over themselves and then they get furious at you when you clean them. Like, I'm an alcoholic. Believe me, I've shit on myself plenty of times. But if you clean me, you're my best friend for the rest of that weekend. My daughter just shits on herself. I wipe her. She's like, hey, I was wearing that. I say my daughter, that's not fair. She'll let us know. We're woke parents. She's gonna choose her gender and her race. I'm hoping for pansexual, biracial, Korean. I feel like that'd spice it up. No, but we are very woke parents. We've been letting our daughter drink Bud Light throughout this whole controversy. I think that speaks well for us. But actually, here's one of my favorite things to do with my daughter. I like to take her, I like to dress her up in really pink frilly outfits. I like to dress her up in pink frilly outfits and then take her to like conservative places. And then people say, oh, your daughter's so cute. And I say, this is my son! How dare you! Try that in a small town. No, but the truth is, if you're a parent, you just want them to be healthy, right? Like, I would have no problem if my daughter turned out to be a boy. I just hope she'd figure it out fast. I don't want to raise a girl till she's 18 and then she's like, I was a boy this whole time. Like, bitch, we could have played with better toys. And you're like, wait, is that a trans joke or a sexist joke? It's non-binary. That's what that joke is. It's a little bit option A, a little bit option they. But I hope she remains a girl. I don't want to raise a guy. Men do all the bad shit, right? Men do all the evil stuff. They're the mass shooters. They're the fucking evil people. You have a son, he might rise up, he might end up doing something terrible. You have a daughter, what's the worst that happens? She becomes a teacher that bangs a student. That's about as bad as it gets. What's the worst that happened? My daughter becomes a stripper, performs on stage like her dad, but actually gets paid. Bring it on. Make it rain on her. Come on. I want a beach house. But we gave her a very nice female name. We named her after my mom. We named her Karen. That's not my mom's name, but she is a difficult white woman, and we just... I actually did want to name my daughter Karen, because I want her to be a comedian. And if your name is Karen, you got an immediate opening joke. Like, there's no way that doesn't kill in 20 years. Be like, yeah, my name is Karen. My parents named me that because they thought I was going to be a cunt. Lucky guess. And my daughter's got the best sense of humor, dude. I made her laugh for the first time at 6 weeks old. It was a 9/11 joke. And just the look in her little eyes, man, she will never forget. It was amazing. But if you are a father of a daughter, you know it's tough to name her, right? My wife was like, how about we name her Kiara? I'm like, I had sex with a Kiara at Burning Man. She's like, Susan? I'm like, hand job at a Nickelback concert. We went through like 50 names, and I'm like, God, it'd be easier if we're having a boy. And my wife's like, I don't think it would. Oh, my wife's a whore in that joke. And I got a great wife, dude. I got an awesome wife, dude. She is beautiful, smart, rich. That's not why I married her, but it's not why I married her. It's definitely adjacent to why. And let me tell you, it is way better to be with someone who has money than someone who doesn't. That's not a joke, that's just a PSA, really. It takes all the pressure off the marriage. Like, if my marriage doesn't work out, it worked out. People are like, dude, I heard you got divorced. We're like, no, I bought a boat. That's what happened. Yeah, man, my wife is paid. I always thought, like, you had to get famous to make money as a comedian. Turns out, you make one nerd laugh in Portland, set for life. Good to be with someone with money. And if you're poor, I'm not trying to shame you. I used to be a poor myself. Then I married a rich. I ascended. So I'm just trying to inspire up here. My friends all try to fuck with me, though. They're like, yeah, but your wife makes more money than you. Don't you feel like less of a man? I'm like, dude, I never felt like a man. That is not an issue for me. In fact, when your wife makes a lot of money and you get to take some of it, you don't feel like less of a man. You know what you feel like? A pimp. Like, I charmed a woman into giving me money. All I had to do was tell her I'm on Chelsea Lately. She's too busy being a doctor to know that show's been canceled for 9 years. Yeah, dude, it changes you too, man. When you're with a woman who's successful, turns you into a real feminist. I'm serious. Like, we got to get rid of that pay gap. These women got to get paid more. Because I'm going to take a lot of that money on the back end. Dude, it makes me sick to my stomach that my wife makes 70% of what a man makes. 15 of that 30% belongs in my pocket. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying, let's treat these bitches right for the sake of their loser husbands. But I will say, the only problem with it is she did not take my last name, my wife, which I understand, because in Hebrew, Mandel means broke comic. So I understand. But she was so cute about it. She took me aside before the wedding. She goes, listen, I want to talk to you about something. I want to talk to you. I don't want to take your last name. I was like, oh, that's what you're worried about? I thought you were going to ask me to sign a prenup. I don't give a fuck about the name. Like, I'm going to take your name. I need better credit. But yeah, dude, I married a doctor. How cool is that, huh? A fucking doctor. I married a doctor. Well, she's a urologist, so that's a dick doctor. That's true. That's not how we met, but that is what my wife does. All day long, she just looks at dicks. Not like my ex-girlfriend used to, but like in a professional way. And during COVID, it was so weird because they shut down the hospitals, so my wife would have to sit in a room looking at dicks on Zoom. How was your pandemic? I'd hear my wife in a room like, oh, you gotta hold your dick up to the camera. Oh, you hit the filter, now your dick has whiskers. And then she'd come out of her room like, I'm so tired of looking at dicks. And I'd be like, you're gonna hate what I have planned for tonight. Dude, I didn't even know there were dick doctors. I thought dicks are like horses. They get sick, you put them down. But no, there's my wife, giving them mouth to mouth, getting them back on the track. Could you do it? Guys, could you do it? Could you be with a woman who looks at like 40 dicks a day? And then you gotta show her yours and she's like, well, better than my 3 o'clock, I guess. The only thing I tell myself is if you're a dick doctor, you probably don't see the best ones, right? No one goes in there like, what are you here for? Me? A fucking high five? Look at this. Grabs the nurse. For people just listening to the album, that was a nurse getting hit in the head by a dick. That's why you gotta come to the live show. But you know what she told me though, my wife? She is a dick surgeon, and she told me they still cannot make dicks bigger. Yeah, I feel how sad it got in this room. They can't make dicks bigger, which frankly goes against half the emails we'd get in the early 2000s. You remember when the internet first came out? It was always like, hey, you need a bigger dick? You're like, who keeps telling Hotmail that? I think it's weird they can't make dicks bigger. They can take a woman's vagina now and turn that into a dick. Feels like we skipped a step. Why have we given up on the small dicks and we're already working on the pussies? That seems weird. You go to the doctor like, I got a small dick. They're like, all we can do is turn your dick into a pussy, turn that pussy into a bigger dick. Yeah, dude, she helps guys out with their dicks. Which is good, right, ladies? Men need our dicks to work. Have you ever seen a man unable to get hard? Yes. Whoa. That woman said, yes, today. That's why you're picking up the check. Right, Brian? It's not a good look, right? We don't handle it well. Men, when we can't get hard, we just start mumbling shit. We're just like, oh, I didn't get enough fructose. Oh, the Santa Ana winds. It's a dry heat, so. Actually, guys say the same thing when we can't get hard, right? We go, it's not your fault. And women are like, yeah, dude, it never occurred to me that it was my fault. So. It never occurred to me that it was my fault. So just go in the other room with that slinky and do whatever you gotta do. Because I used to drink a lot. I'm an alcoholic, so every now and then I would lose the old chubster. My wife said that's the medical term, and it's a bad feeling, dude. Ladies, for a man who loses his erection during sex, you know what that feels like? That feels like we got invited to a picnic, and all we were asked to bring was the wine opener. And even that, we somehow fucked up. But we didn't realize we didn't have it, so we're eating all your dip and your hummus and your chips. And then you're like, how about we have some wine? And we're like, what about just a soft seltzer? My wife is good at sex. She is a very good lover. She's a very good lover because she's a urologist, so she understands the equipment. Sometimes she just chops me in the right spot. I shoot out a gold coin. The pit boss comes out. But yeah, so that's sex. And that's sex. Yeah. Where are my parents at again? Where are you guys at? Yeah. Any parents here who had to work really hard to make a baby? There you go. God bless you. It takes a lot of trying. It took me and my wife 2 years of trying to make our baby. 2 years of trying. That's the term people use for coming in your wife. People are real comfortable with it. My mom would be like, are you guys trying? Mom, are you asking if I'm blasting loads inside of Ashley? Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're asking comfortably at the dinner table? Are you guys trying, huh? Getting it in there. No butt stuff. I want grandkids. My mom is obsessed with grandkids, dude. One time, me and my wife were staying at my parents' house, and my wife was ovulating, because she's a little slut. And... sorry, I don't believe in science. And my mom found out, and she goes, hey, if you guys have to try, why don't you use our room? She said, the bed's more comfortable up there. She's like, it'll be quieter. I'm like, it won't be quieter up here, though, while we're doing it. But it took us 2 years because my wife is 38, so she technically had a geriatric pregnancy. Do you know that's the offensive term they give to a middle-aged woman getting pregnant? As if at 35, your vagina gets a little walker with tennis balls on it. Like a middle-aged woman opens her legs and all you see is a coupon for soup. But it's true, it takes longer when you're older. You know, if you ever see a teenage girl who's pregnant, tip your hat. That's the smartest girl in the class. She ran the numbers. I'm not kidding. If you have a teenage daughter, tell her to get knocked up now. IVF is expensive, and she can take math at any point in the rest of her life. Because it's hard to get a woman pregnant when you're trying to do it. When you're not trying, pretty easy. You could sneeze on a woman at Coachella, she's like, fuck, twins! But when you are trying, it's tough. You gotta wait for a harvest moon, pluck one feather off a goose, tickle her cooch for 3 or 4 minutes while singing a John Mayer tune. Because here's what I didn't know about women's bodies. They're magical, they make babies, but they only do it 2 or 3 days a month. Ovaries only work 2 or 3 days a month. Ovaries are like government workers. They're always there, but they're never doing shit for anybody. Meanwhile, balls, it's not complex labor, but they're showing up every goddamn day. Like illegal workers. Ready for hard labor. Unless you've been drinking, then it's less hard and more labor. No, but really, I know we're close to Mexico, but balls really are the illegal immigrant of the body, aren't they? Think about it, the dick gets all the credit, the balls are in the background, putting in the real hours. Sharing that little apartment. And everybody thinks they smell. So I'm sorry, I had to do 3. I had to do 3. So you get those 3 or 4 days and you gotta fuck like crazy in that window, right? And I'm 40. I like to fuck twice a week. There's a lot on Netflix. I'm sorry, I don't care how good your pussy is. It's not better than Squid Game. No way, you know what I mean? But you get those 3 or 4 days, 2 or 3 days, you gotta fuck constantly. I had to come 6 times in 3 days. 6 times. That dude's super excited about all that coming. 6 times is too much for a man my age. The last time 1 sperm came out. It was one little hillbilly trucker hat wearing sperm. Just like, what's that? Everybody else went home. Still trying to meet that egg. And me and my wife, we were like, we want a baby, but we don't want to fuck each other. So I was like, we got to find something to do. So we started watching porn during our baby-making attempts. And that's a weird thing to do with your partner because you learn what each other are into. And sometimes you're like, I don't think you should be a parent. Turns out my wife is some dark, derogatory, misogynistic porn. Like she's a feminist, but not when it comes to porn. She cried when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. She likes seeing a woman take a load to the face from multiple angles. She's Hillary Clinton in the streets and a big old Bill Clinton in the sheets. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm pretty generic with porn. You know, sir, right? You know me and porn. Right, Todd? You know all about it, right? I'm pretty generic with porn. I like 2 straight women pretending to be gay. Right, a couple of American straight lesbians. Not my wife, no. She likes that evil porn that's always up in the side of the red tube or the U-porn or wherever the fuck you jerk off to. You know those evil videos of 1 woman and 9 naked men standing around her? And you're like, who's that for? Turns out it's for the mother of my daughter. That's who that's for. And she names each guy like they're in a little boy band. And I thought we were gonna have a male child. I thought we were gonna have a boy. I have a lot of back hair. I watch the UFC. I thought we were gonna have a boy, you know? So when we would jerk off, we would jerk off. Sorry, I was thinking about what I'm gonna do after the show. No, but I thought we'd have a boy. I thought we'd have a boy. So when we would watch porn to make the baby, I would always secretly save the link. because I figured one day I could give my son the lake. And when he turns 15, he can jerk off to the scene that made him. And I think that's what the kids call an NFT. No, it took us 2 years. It took us 2 years of trying to make this baby. And eventually my wife told me I had to check my semen, which was scary, because I have never checked my semen before. I have checked myself for semen. But I never checked my semen, you know? And I'm like, dude, I don't know what's in my semen. What if it turns out I'm gay? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how this works. Like, if they're gonna look at my semen, I want it to be phenomenal, you know? I want the doctor to hold it up to the light and be like, "Mwah!" This is one guy? That's one guy? You sure that's not all 4 Ninja Turtles? That's one guy. Gets on the intercom. Everybody get in here. You gotta see this. You gotta taste this. I was like, I don't know if I want to check my semen. My wife goes, I make the money. You're gonna check your dick. Yes, ma'am. I will do that right now. So we go to the fertility doctor. Went to the fertility doctor and he told us, he goes, Mo, you gotta give us a sample. You can do it here or you can do it at home. And I was like, how would I do it here? And he said, well, we have an iPad. And then he just lifted up an iPad in a Ziploc plastic bag. Just a little Ziploc plastic jerk-off slave iPad. Just staring out at me like, no! I don't want to do it again! Like all day long, this little camera stares up at 40-year-old men like, why did I wait? He's like, yeah, we got an iPad. I use it at lunch sometimes. I got it bookmarked. And my wife's a doctor, like I said, so she's like, just jerk off in the cup, I'll bring it into the hospital where I work. But I'm like, yeah, but that just seems like a bitch move. To be like, you take it. You already make the money, now transport my broken jizz. Like, no, I'm a man. I drive my own cup of jizz to the hospital while listening to Metallica. But here's the thing, and I don't want to gross you out, but this is true. On the cup, when you do this, it says you got to get it to the hospital in 1 hour. You have to get it to the hospital in 1 hour. And it says you have to hold it to your body to keep it warm. So you got to jerk off and then immediately cuddle your 6 million unborn ghost children. And I don't know how you guys jerk off. I do it butt naked. That's just how I do it. Where my butt naked jerkers at? Fuck yeah. I don't like sitting there with my pants down. I feel like I'm trying to get away with something. I feel like I snuck into my neighbor's house and I'm stealing Wi-Fi the old-fashioned way. So I had to jerk off in the cup, get dressed, fight LA traffic. You know, I stopped at Starbucks. That was a mistake. They were like, is that a gun? I'm like, it's jizz. They're like, that's worse. I'm like, yo, this jizz is for a kid. I race into the hospital. There's a big line to drop off the sample. It's like 24. You know, we're out of time. It's Mission Impossible. There's a big line, you know, but it said, if your sample has an expiration, you can cut the line. Now, I've lived in LA for years. I can never get in anywhere. Felt good to cut the line. Felt like I knew the DJ. I was like, yep, I'm here with jizz. What's up, dog? So I get up and I gotta hand my cup of jizz to a nurse, a woman who knows I jerked off maximum 58 minutes ago. So she's looking at me like, well, he's pretty sweaty. He might have done that in the elevator. And she had no tact. I was like, my sample has an expiration. She goes, semen? Is it semen? And an old man's like, why does he get the cut? She's like, semen, sir. Low grade. So they tested it, right? And guys, we always hear we have swimmers, but we assume, well, we got Michael Phelps, right? That's what I got. A little sack of Michael Phelps level swimmers, right? That's what you got, Michael Phelps swimmers. We just assume that's what I got, little Michael Phelps swimmers. Not necessarily. You might also have that fat kid at summer camp who swam in his t-shirt because he's got little bitch tits that would float in the water. I think Travis was his name. That could be your swimmers. Because the doctor said to me, he goes, Mo, you have good semen, but you have bad semen mobility. So I was like, so my dick's like a parade float full of fat guys with bad ankles? Like, that's pretty much... First of all, I don't even know, like, bad semen mobility. Like, how mobile does semen have to be? I put it in my wife's body. I'm not putting it on her back like, good luck, fellas. You got a Lord of the Rings quest ahead of you. So I was all bummed out, I was all bummed out. And then my wife, God bless her, says, I don't think you have bad semen mobility. You should check again. I'm like, well, how would you know? What do you feel? I'm whipping around on little wave runners in there? So I checked again. The doctor goes, oh, your semen's fine. I was like, what happened last time? And he said, quote, sometimes balls have a bad day. And I'm like, well, I'm about to shoot a comedy special. I'm going to have to name it that. That's a lot of jizz talk. It's a lot of jizz talk. Thank you guys. You guys stuck in there, You stuck in there. I think 1 or 2 people actually came during that. That was ironic. But now I got a kid, and I'm trying to be like a better person for her, Like, I got sober recently. That's pretty exciting. Thank you. Because turns out I'm an alcoholic, which I didn't know. I thought I just really liked alcohol. Turns out those are very connected. Woke up naked in an alley, curled up in a ball. I realized you're either an alcoholic or you're the Terminator. One of those two. And if you are thinking about quitting drinking, I would say don't do it. Have fun, die younger. Because when you quit drinking, it takes all the fun out of life. Like, here's an example. Have you ever gone to like Taco Bell or Denny's sober, and you're like, that's what the fuck this tastes like? That's what this shit's been the whole time? That's all of your life when you get sober. Like all your friends, you're like, oh, I love my friends. No, you're always drunk around each other. Then you get sober, you're like, dude, Tony's not funny. Turns out he's just angry and racist. So I tried to go to AA, but AA is very weird for a comedian because an AA meeting is a lot like a comedy club. It's one guy talking about his fucked up life and then a bunch of people who wish they had a drink in front of them. It's the same dynamic. So as a comedian, you're in front of a crowd, you feel like you want to try to get laughs, but I had to follow a meth addict. That's a tough follow. That guy talked about eating his favorite dog on Christmas. How am I going to follow that? I went up there to start doing crowd work. I was like, I'm Mo Mandel, I'm an alcoholic. This guy knows what I'm talking about, right? Started working the crowd. Look at this lady crying. What a bitch, huh? I'll be here all week because the judge said I have to be. Sold my CDs after the show. The other reason I got sober, though, besides trying to be a better father, is I started watching Lockup and all those prison shows. And I realized everyone who's in jail is in there for being drunk or on drugs. And I was like, if I end up in prison, the producers are going to do an episode about my career. Like, Mo Mandel used to make almost $9,000 a year as a stand-up comedian. But now in Corcoran Penitentiary, no one's laughing anymore. And then it cuts to me. I get raped a lot. But now that I'm married and have a baby, I don't care that I'm sober. But when I was single, that was tough. Because if you're a man and you're single and sober, you kind of seem like a predator. And what do? As men, we take women to bars and hope you drink and want to have sex. But it's weirder for like, hey, you should get drunk. Just you. I'm gonna sit here with a Pepsi. Let me know when you're ready to make a mistake. Here's to Cosby. So anyway, just trying to be a good person. Trying to be a good person, man, for my daughter, you know. I actually have a big day coming up with my daughter next week. I got a big day with my daughter next week. I'm taking her to buy her first gun. Yeah. She's starting daycare, and I want her to be ready. It's starting early now. There was a 6-year-old kid that shot his teacher last year. 6. And that's why we have to arm the teachers, so they can shoot those little motherfuckers. Like, you should never shoot a kid, but if that kid's trying to shoot you, you should shoot that fucking kid. I don't want to get killed by a 6-year-old and then my friends are at my funeral just talking shit like, I heard that kid missed his nap. And that's what they want to do. They want to arm the teachers. I don't know. I feel like we should start by letting them hit the kids again. I mean, right? Isn't it weird if you can't slap a kid's wrist with a ruler, but you can shoot him with an AR-15? Arm the teachers. What about the subs? They just get a knife. Like, it just seems weird. Like, we can't trust these teachers not to fuck the kids half the time. You put those little dicks down, then you can pick up a gun. But I'll tell you, if they do arm the teachers, boy, that next generation of class clowns are gonna be pretty badass. They're gonna be walking around like war heroes, like, yep, lost this leg in Johnson Middle School. Whoopee cushion, Miss Rodriguez. So many of these fucking mass shootings, huh? The only good thing about all these shootings is at least it's more racially diverse now. Used to just be whites. Guys who look like you. I feel like I've seen you on CNN about 5 or 6 times. But now it's people like you of all races. Last year we had an Asian guy do it, then a black guy did it on a subway. Didn't kill anybody, not sure how that's fucking possible. On a subway? Isn't that like bowling with the bumpers up? Like, how do you not? Like, if only a white 14-year-old was there to show him how it's done, you know? No, Darnell, not like this. Like this. Oh, what a beautiful racial moment. But there's so many of these mass shooters, it kind of makes you miss serial killers a little bit. At least they were good neighbors. Dude, anytime there's a serial killer documentary, there's always that scene where they're like, we loved Rick. That was Crazy Rick with the van. We love that guy. Why are they such good neighbors? They're just letting people borrow their tools? Like, anybody need a shovel? Or maybe they always get to know their neighbors, go always washing blood off their van in the driveway, like, hey, Cheryl, yep, hit another deer. Are you jogging later? Like, it's weird to think about, but it's true. If you're having a party, who do you want your neighbor to be? Serial killer or sweet little grandma? I'm going serial killer. Because grandmas come by, can you turn that music down? Serial killer's like, turn it way up. I'm about to fire up my bone saw. I need some background noise. And now all we got are mass shooters. No one says they're good neighbors. They're like, oh, we knew that kid sucked. That's why we picked on him. I'm sorry, is this too real for this crowd? But I feel bad for serial killers because mass shooters, they get way more attention and they put in way less work. Serial killers are killing people for 20 years. Mass shooters don't get invited to a pool party, more bodies without even trying. Because they're Gen Z, not willing to put in the time. Lazy on TikTok. You want to kill people, you dedicate. That's the American way. And they don't even bury their own bodies. These kids don't know how to work anymore. The other thing I like more about serial killers, and you guys are like, oh, good, I was hoping this bit would go on longer. The other thing I like more about serial killers, they don't kill themselves like little bitches, you know what I mean? They stick around to see what kind of nickname they're gonna get, and you gotta respect that. That's a big day when your nickname comes up in the paper, right? You're going to the paper, come on, bush killer, come on, bush. Oh, the small dick minivan butt snuggler, god damn it. But don't worry about it, don't worry about it. You're not gonna get killed by a serial killer. You're not gonna get killed by a mass shooter. You know who you're gonna get killed by statistically? Your spouse, your wife, your husband, the person you're falling asleep next to tonight. Statistically, you are more likely to be murdered by your spouse than you are by anyone else in the world, times 3. So ISIS, cartels, mass shooters, whoever you're scared of, you're less likely to be murdered by them than the person you're gonna share the check with tonight. And you're like, not my Larry, especially your Larry. You're Larry more than anyone in the world, times 3. And I love doing this joke because you see people turn to their spouse and be like, I would never do that. But that's what someone who would do that would say. Oh, you're like, oh, my husband wouldn't do that. He loves me. That's why he'll murder you. To murder someone, you gotta bury the body, you gotta plant it, you gotta take it here, you gotta take it there, you gotta. You only put in that kind of time if you really care about somebody. And that's the story of Passover. But it's true though, marriage is a freaky thing, right? Marriage is a freaky thing. How long you guys been married? 33 years. Good for you guys, huh? 33. Let's applaud. We don't know, maybe it's a terrible marriage and they're too scared to leave, but let's applaud. Have you seen all the gross shit that each other do, or are you still learning about new gross things? Learning, well, said with a face full of sadness and fear. Dude, because I saw my wife do something the other day that is the scariest thing and I can't get it out of my mind, all right? I was watching my wife pee. And you can do it too. She has an OnlyFans. She doesn't know about it, but it's doing very well. No, but I'll be honest, I like watching my wife pee. I think women look beautiful while you pee. I really do. There's something about the way you sit down, your ass gets a little fatter. I mean, when you watch from the side, not beneath like a glass coffee table like some sort of European. But I mean, I like watching women pee from the side, you know? And I was watching my wife pee, and she did something I can't get out of my mind, all right? She blew her nose and then used the same Kleenex to dab herself. Which, in her defense, she claimed she turned it. I did not see a turn. She claimed slider, I saw straight fastball. I was like, babe, what are you doing? I gotta jam my face in that in 20 minutes. I don't want to go down you and restart COVID. And she's like, I don't want to waste paper. I'm like, we don't even recycle. This is the hill we're going to die on? But you know what's embarrassing? And this is on me. I didn't even know women had to wipe after you peed till I was 19 years old. Because I didn't have a sister and I grew up way out in the woods, way out in the country, and I would see my mom pee in the garden. Because that's how the country works. It's a long walk. Eventually your mom has to pee on the food that she then serves her family. That's just how that goes. She's not gonna track mud to the house. And I remember seeing my mom pee in the garden and she didn't wipe. She just gave it one good country stomp and that was that. Little swivel on the lettuce. And so the first time I found out women had to wipe after they pee, I was in high school. Me and this girl were gonna have sex in the woods. Because if you're from the country, you know that's how you fuck. You trespass and try to shoot before you get shot. And she goes, before we do this, I need some toilet paper. I was like, if you take a shit out here, I'm gonna leave you out here. She's like, no, women have to wipe after they pee. I'm like, that's not what my mom does when I watch her pee. And that was the end of prom. Because we don't know how it all works. It takes a long time to figure it all out. Like, guys, fellas, you remember the first time you touched a woman's vagina? The way we thought women orgasmed was we just had to get our finger in as deep as possible. That's how we thought it worked. Right? That's why you'd get those accidental fistings in 8th grade, because we thought like there was an orgasm button in the back and you just had to give it a pop, get it in the back. And then it was like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, like, surprise, it was in the front the whole time! Like, why did God put it up front? Well, he's an asshole, dude. He wanted them to fake their orgasms, I guess. By the way, do not fake an orgasm, all right? It doesn't help you. I had this girl one time break up and she goes, just so you know, I faked all my orgasms. I was like, I didn't, so I guess I won this relationship. What a miserable 9 months this must have been for you. But it's not our fault that we don't know how women orgasm. It's movies' fault. Hollywood has lied to us about female sexuality. Hollywood, the Jews, they've lied to us. Again. Because you never see the clit in any Hollywood sex scene. You never see the clit. You never see Schwarzenegger just to save the day, take her home, and then do this for 35 minutes. You never see that scene. And God forbid she had one glass of white wine, now her pussy's broken for 3 hours. And he's like, oh, I gotta switch arms. And you're in the theater like, is she gonna come? They're like, in the sequel, she gets pretty close. So anyway, you guys are a great crowd, man. You guys have been a great crowd. I know we talked a lot about trying. I was talking a lot about trying. And the truth is, all jokes aside, it was actually a very emotional moment for me. The first time we really tried. We got rid of the condom, got rid of the IUD, the Law and Order SVU. Got rid of that little whale harpoon hook. The first time we got rid of that and just let Jesus take the wheels. It was pretty emotional. I was like, dude, this cum could grow up to be my kid. Who knows? It could grow up to be a school shooter, a proud boy. Who knows what's possible in this great country? This cum could grow up to be my kid, And I'm having all these beautiful fatherhood thoughts, and then I hear my wife on the side of the bed go, ugh, forgot how gross it feels when it slides out of me. It's a beautiful life. I'm having all these beautiful thoughts. She gets up and walks to the bathroom like, it's on my knee. No, I can't wait to tell it to my daughter. Yes, sweetie, you were the one who was afraid to fall. But we got bored, right? We got bored midway through, so we had to keep trying. We had to find kinks, find ways to fuck each other. You gotta have a kink, right? If you don't have a kink, what do people call you? Vanilla, right? It's like the N-word for people who don't like being fisted on a trampoline. It's essentially the same thing. And it turns out my wife's kinks are all very dark and dirty. She likes to be choked, which is convenient, because she's very annoying. Sometimes she'll be annoying all day, and I'm thinking, you're gonna have fun tonight! But why is it that when someone likes something sexually done to them, they just assume you're gonna like it done to you? Like the first time we did that, she goes, now I'm gonna choke you. I was like, hope you also like to be hit. And it turns out she does, and I was not fucking comfortable with that. I was like, I was gonna vote for Bernie, all right? I'm a Jew. Women, I don't hit women. In my culture, women are the aggressors. And she's like, well, it's my sexuality. I want you to hit me. So I'm like, so not hitting your wife now makes you a bad husband? Look what Antifa has done to this country. So I hit her, and I was like, damn it, I didn't want to enjoy that. But I did. I was like, I'm gonna go to therapy. You buy a bike helmet. I'll meet you back here at 5. We'll try again. So eventually we just got desperate, and I was like, all right, we're gonna do dress-up sex. She'll be a princess, I'll be Jewish Wolverine. So I went and bought her a nurse outfit. I'm like, you're gonna be a slutty nurse. She's like, I'm not wearing that. I'm a doctor. She's like, I didn't go to extra school to be demoted during doggy style. Which I thought was obnoxious. She's like, I'm not a nurse. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a fucking wizard, all right? Dude, you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out.